Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me at the very outset to congratulate you for your election as the Speaker of this House. I also thank my constituents of Grand Bé for placing their trust in me. Now I'm going to read a part which was not planned earlier. I promise to make constructive criticisms, and I promise I will at no point in time hit below the belt. I heard most members of the other side of the House inviting us on this side of the House to collaborate, to propose constructive ideas, but I am sad not all of you did put it into practice. Try to put into practice what you preach. Gentlemanship, after all, is an art which cannot be cultivated by any Tom, Dick, and Harry. In the absence of a proper punching bag, some enjoy shadow fisting. Carry on. This is funny and above all shows lack of proper etiquette. As for Honorable Rao, I shall refer him to the press interview of his former colleague, or I don't know if it is still his colleague, Mr. Gayan, an active member of his party, the ML, who said it carré, that il a été déçu de n'avoir pas eu un ticket. I hope that Honorable Rao does not get the same treatment and did, as did Mr. Gayan for his leader. Wisdom advises us we should not throw stones at others when you live in glass houses, brother. And as far as beating an opponent by 5,000 votes, 10,000 votes, the culture I come from, I have been told that nothing is permanent. This world, this victory, this defeat, nothing. And we shouldn't be too proud, too vain. We need to cultivate humility, especially when we have won. It is not by belittling others. It is not by saying harsh words against others. This part was not planned. Forgive me for that. My speech will be divided into 3 distinct parts. This part was not pre-planned. Otherwise, I could have. Later on, I will add it. And I will tell you which part I am not going to add. My speech will be divided into 3 distinct parts, namely, an overview of the situation in my constituency. Second, a critical look at the government program. And third, I will delve on my pet topic, that is education. On page 17 of the government program 2020-2024, we read the following: improving the well-being and quality of life of citizens. Beautiful. In fact, I congratulate the government for taking this commitment to improve the well-being and quality of life of citizens. I hope it means all citizens. If we really want to improve the well-being and quality of life of our citizens, then I will kindly request the authorities to do their best to put an end to the ordeal of my friends in Fond-du-Sac, Cancarol, and elsewhere, who live in torturing anxiety and palpable stress each time there is heavy rain in the country. You have been there after being elected. I was there even before being elected, and I have lived with them. I have lived their ordeal. I have stayed from 8 p.m. up till 2 a.m. with them, up till, well, water up till my waist. I know we have enough of expertise on that side, human and financial resources, and a large amount of goodwill, so that the well-being and quality of life of the inhabitants of these localities are humanely dealt with. The sooner, the better. The fishermen and planters of my constituency, from Poudre-d'Eau village to Pointe-aux-Canoniers, passing by Grand Gaube to Grand Bé and elsewhere, are awaiting the right signals from this government so that their daily routine becomes less arduous, each time bad weather hits their daily livelihood. If we really mean business, then we should not dilly-dally to provide a decent market to villagers like Goodlands and Fondussac. Improving the well-being and quality of life of citizens, I hope, entails improving road security, war against the proliferation of drugs, better sports and recreational facilities, proper street lightings, adequate and regular water supply, proper drains, regular resurfacing of roads and potholes. Improving the well-being and quality of life of citizens, I hope, means proper transport facilities for my friends in Bois d'Oiseau, Sotis, Madame-Azur, and Saint-François. We are not asking for metro, I don't know how you call it, tram, but regular flow of buses which will alleviate the suffering of those people, especially those who do not own a private vehicle. Improving the well-being and quality of life of citizens, I hope, will entail the construction of a proper mediclinic in Vale and Gambé. Improving the well-being and quality of life of citizens will be possible if we look for and work for genuine solutions to domestic violence, murder, theft, sexual abuse. I hope improving well-being and quality of life of citizens will mean not only material well-being at the expense of social harmony. I hope this government will ensure sustainable economic development and will implement measures to protect our very vulnerable ecosystem and very vulnerable social group. This leads me to the second part of my speech, Mr. Speaker. Now let me cast a cursory look at the main proposition made in the government program 2020-2024. At first look, it looks as a bundle of good intentions. It is a package of measures which can really help Mauritius to move ahead. On page 5, we read that a country that values its population as its main asset through empowerment, enhanced social inclusiveness, and equality of opportunity. In theory, I should applaud this measure, which is wrapped in lofty terms of good intentions. Indeed, we should value our population and should empower it. Let us not wear blinkers and use ego-boosting phraseology like enhanced social inclusiveness and equality of opportunity if you do not believe in it, if you do not practice it, if you daily stifle it by partisan decisions. I hope job creation, development of the blue and green economy, measures to combat and curtail public debt and inflation, measures to reduce the gap between the rich and the poor, will be genuine targets of this government and not mere promises. Equality of opportunity should not sound like an empty slogan bereft of sense. I am happy that the competence of my friend Osman Mohamed was duly recognized and valued. I hope it does not remain the unique example to cite for the next 5 years. On both sides of the House, we have good-intentioned people who aspire to bequeath a legacy of hope, good governance to future generations. Let us work together for a country that values its population as its main asset through empowerment, enhanced social inclusiveness, and equality of opportunity. I hope that every Mauritian, regardless of his skin or political color, regardless of his religious or political convictions, regardless of his caste or origin, should enjoy equal treatment in the Republic of Mauritius. Our island should not become an animal farm where some animals are more equal than others. To paraphrase Martin Luther King, in my own way, I have a dream. I dream of a country where iron-booted feet of political power no longer trample over noble aspirations of justice, equality, fair treatment, meritocracy. I dream of a country where the safe city cameras focus more on crime and criminals than my friend Osman Mohamed's window. Let us show the population that we mean business. Let us revive meritocracy. Let us live up to expectations by curtailing corruption in all its myriad forms, whether it is money politics or the rodeo boot culture, whether it is favoritism or petit copain culture, whether it is political vendetta or protes nudimun. Let us revisit our conscience and agree to work together for a better Mauritius. We need to further consolidate the values based on sharing, renewed faith in our institutions, and rewrite our common destiny with the colors of the rainbow, so that whether in or outside Parliament, in or out of power, whether we have the same political ideologies or affinities or not, we can still sing the national anthem in unison as one people, as one nation. The Scandinavian countries have developed an interesting concept: do more with less. If we use this approach, we can reduce our use of virgin materials in order to protect the environment. If we can do more with less, we can enhance productivity and quality performance in an array of sectors. Now I move to the third and last part of my speech, which will deal with education. The title of the chapter dealing with education is quite eloquent: Education and Skills for the World of Tomorrow. I am fascinated by the heading. We are talking about the future. We are planning the future by taking measures today. That is why I believe that policies regarding education should not be taken lightly. Policy decisions which are based on increasing access, quality, and equity will always be acclaimed. Before 2005, the main guideline of UNESCO was education for all. And after 2005, it changed and became quality education for all. In fact, education is an indispensable tool to build the Mauritius of tomorrow. The students who are entrusted to us to receive formal education in our schools should aspire to get quality education. The Labour Party has always believed in the importance of education, in nation building, in human empowerment, in fostering democracy and boosting the self-esteem of each and every Mauritian. The human capital can only be developed and made competitive in a globalized world through an education which meets the requirements of the time. Many countries regularly revisit the educational system in order to adapt it to the needs of the time. For instance, in India, the Minister of Education entrusted the responsibility of spearheading reform in the educational sector to the Ministry of Human Resources. I find this a new and revolutionary approach. In my country, the reform in the educational sector took place with sparse, almost no consultation. Reform is normally based on consultation, piloting, taking stakeholders on board, and reviewing it as we proceed. The reform which was brought about by this government had as main tenets two. First, to reduce competition and to ease competition at the primary level. Two, to provide a broader, holistic education instead of an exam-driven one. Three, to equip our youngsters with the necessary tools to face and meet the challenges of a technologically driven world. What do we have in reality? Have we reduced competition? Have we been able to heal the ailing education system? Have we really improved it? Miss Honorable Tanya Diol talked about Tagore. Now, let me tell you a story from Tagore. This reminds me of the Parrot's Tale, written by Tagore. In the Parrot's Tale, we have the king who has a parrot, and the king considers the parrot to be stupid. And he calls his advisors, come and help me so that my parrot can be more learned, can be more educated, because the way it sings songs, it sounds stupid. And what happens? The Prime Minister calls the advisors, and the advisors come and advise, Your Excellency, There is only one way to make the parrot more intelligent. We need to feed it the right way. And what was that way? They started scribbling on paper knowledgeable things, and he started stuffing the mouth and stomach of the parrot. And this continued for some time. And you know the end of the story. After some time, the parrot is going to die. In our system also, we're trying to do the same thing. We think that all parrots should sing the same song in the same way. But when a collection of birds come in our garden, all of them cannot and will not be able to sing the song in the same way, unfortunately. Later on, I'll take the 5-credit thing. In Denmark, it is important we inspire ourselves from whatever is being done. In Denmark, empathy classes are part of the national curriculum. Caring for others, mutual respect, anger management, establishing cordial relationships, handling and managing crises can help in improving the quality of life in Mauritius, can help to combat domestic violence in the long run. Let us contemplate it. In Malaysia, the Prime Minister Mahathir has insisted that equitability and egalitarianism must be visible in the reform policy. That is why the Minister of Education there has included love, happiness, mutual respect, and responsibility to form the core values of the education philosophy. In England, they are trying to adapt the curriculum to harness the fourth industrial revolution, characterized by the growing utilization of new technologies such as artificial intelligence, cloud computing, robotics, 3D painting, the Internet of Things, and advanced wireless technology, among others. My question is, where are we? Only a dismal number of our students opt for computer science or science in Mauritius. We need to think and plan ahead. On page 13, paragraph 25, government will come up with concrete actions to further improve performance at all levels. My question is, tell us the miraculous recipe. How to do it? In 2015, also in paragraph 64, it was written, I quote, government will aim to deliver a high standard of academic education and skills for our youngsters. Education reforms will focus on curriculum review and performance improvement at all levels. Remedial education at every stage of primary and secondary education cycles will remain a priority in order to deal with learning deficits, early dropouts, and failures. Now again, the same promise. Don't get me wrong. Let us face it. If there is any need to take prompt actions, please do it. For the past 5 years, just show me any qualitative or quantitative improvement in performance at any level. Rate of failure has remained more or less the same. Rate of pass is almost the same. This year, more than ever, the whole nation has been bewildered by the guillotine which is being applied to axe the chances of thousands of students from pursuing their lower six because they do not have 5 credit. I do not like blame game. I do not believe in blaming. I believe in constructive criticism. I challenge anyone here to come forward and to tell me that our kids have to be blamed for their poor performance. Only our kids. There are several factors which account for failure. Go and carry out any research. There is no empirical evidence to show that only students are to be blamed for their failure. Don't get me wrong. I will never make an apology for mediocrity. 70% of our students who did not make it last year are being ridiculed, stigmatized. They are being made the subject of ridicule. Let me state a fact. All kids will not be able to secure 5 credits. All birds will not be able to sing in the same way. What is the general pass rate in Mauritius? In fact, it is more over 70%. Whether it is CP now PESAC, SC or HSC, year in and year out, around 30% of our students fail in various exams. MES statistics reveals that in the school certificate, only 44.7% students obtain a credit in maths, 44.6% obtain a credit in English, and 45.7% in French. This should be a serious concern to seasoned pedagogues. Our education system is in an état d'urgence, et au grand mot, les grands moyens. We need to deal with, on one hand side, maintain and uphold quality, and on the other hand, ensure that no child is left behind. This is our job. We can do that. We can maintain quality, and at the same time, we should not prevent access to our kids. It is not ethical. It is not morally acceptable. I'm talking to thousands of my students who have been my previous students, and to thousands of students who are watching and listening me through the social media. Rest assured, we on this side of the house, we are going to fight for you. In the past also, there were clear-cut criteria for promotion to lower 6 with free credit. As a rector, I know that very well. We were looking at the age factor. The students with free credit had to satisfy certain criteria to be admitted in lower 6. They needed to have at least a pass in the subject they were opting for in lower 6. Understand it. We can have a student with only 4 credit whose result may be better, his aggregate may be better than someone with 5 credit. You have to accept that. We shouldn't be academically arrogant, because we people, we are lucky. We could manage and pass the exams well. There are thousands of students outside. And now, Mr. Rao, coming back to you, I will not use derogatory words like Mr. Obigado used against the Minister of Education. I will not tell her that she has fallen on her head. I will not pass unpleasant remarks at her, because I know that it is not easy to be a Minister of Education. I respect her for whatever she has been able to do. And if need be, we are here willing. Towards the end of my speech, I will make positive criticisms, at least 10. Many students with free credits manage to earn a decent HSC, and a few students with good or even excellent SC results sometimes fail HSC. How many times I, as a rector, had to ask students with aggregate 15 at SC to repeat lower 6. And sometimes I have students with free credit who were allowed to go and do HSC. Today, I'm saying hello to all of you. You have been successful, and I'm proud that you are successful, because the Republic of Mauritius caters for you also, not for a selected elite. As a rector, former rector, I can testify that with or without 5 credit, the regional school which I manage from 2003 to 2014 produced quality results which are known to the whole nation. The statistics are here to prove it. I don't want to talk too much about it. I think at this point in time, before we break perhaps, so that you don't get sleepy, let me come with a second story. I'll tell you the story which many of you know. It's about the 2 pots. Once, a man living in a village had 2 pots. And he used to walk a long distance to go to the well in order to fill the pots with water and bring water home. Unfortunately, one of the pots had a small hole in it. He would go fill the pots and come back, go and come back. One day, the pot which was perfect is telling the man, "Why do you still keep that imperfect pot? You go and fill water so painstakingly, and on your way most of water drizzles out, falls down. Why do you do that?" The man smilingly answered, "You know, look on the side. The pot is imperfect. You will find an alley of flowers which is blooming." Because we should care even for our pots which have a hole in it. Our kids who have free credit, they have to be looked after. They requires our attention. Page 13, paragraph 27 reads as follows. Access to educational facilities to students with disabilities will be improved. I am happy, madam, that something constructive is being done for kids with the special needs. However, like the stakeholders, I also am making an earnest appeal to the Honorable Minister of Education, Tertiary Education and Technology to consider the following. Creation of a Special Needs Education Authority, SENA, to increase the present annual amount which is given per child, to increase it. And on this side of the House, we are going to vote for it. Government should provide financial support to all organizations working with and for children with special needs, so that they do not rely solely on CSR. To take into account how a standardizing sense poses practical problems, because we are trying to amalgamate slow learners, deaf, blind, visually impaired children, and others under one homogeneous group. To provide the necessary training and professional development opportunities to everyone associated with SENS. As promised, I will not conclude my speech without making a few suggestions. I put it in front of the House that the curriculum has to be reviewed as soon as possible. Review the teaching and learning methods in our schools. Review the teaching of languages. In a technology-driven world, English is being taught as if it were our first language, and it is not. For some people, it is even the third or fourth language. We need to readapt our teaching skills. Critical thinking, peer learning, activity-based learning, remedial education, extrinsic motivation, regular meetings with parents involving stakeholders in decision-making, autonomy to rectors, enhancing the leadership skills of rectors, educators are a must. We cannot talk about it without implementing it. Review the national curriculum framework for the pre-primary sector as proposed in paragraph 31. Review the number of zones. Increase it to 6 or 8 in order to be geographically more sound. Review the way slow learners are handled. Review your stand on 5 credit. Do not deny our youngsters the chance to benefit from education. Unfortunately, the way we conceptualize vocational training in Mauritius is mirrored with a lot of fallacies. In Germany, it is not because we have failed we go to vocational school. It is an option. It is a choice. Here we are branding, stigmatizing people who have failed. We are telling them, exit the academic pathway and go there. Let us put our heads together and see what can be done so that peacocks and parrots can both enjoy life. Shift from teacher-centered to student-centered education. And my favorite is introduce differentiated teaching in classrooms. If ever you come with any of these on this side, you will find a friend who is more than willing to help. I thank all of you for your kind attention.